Hi, and welcome to my channel. I'm Z. Come whine with me. Today I am going to whine about Married at First Sight, Season 13. I am filming this. This is being filmed after Decision Day, but before the reunion. So I'm just going to whine about the couples and my views and thoughts and opinions about and predictions about where the couples might be come reunion day. I will freely admit that this particular season, in the very beginning of the season, I had high hopes for, I'll say two couples. I figured that, no. Take that back. I had high hopes for maybe three couples. I would say the couples I thought were going to make it were Rachel and, I never remember that fool's name. And Jose, very beginning. Zach and Michaela, and definitely Bao and Johnny. I thought Bao and Johnny were going to be the golden children this season. I thought they were going to be the golden couple. I was so hopeful for them. I thought they were so cute. I was just like, oh my gosh, an Asian couple, and they were, they shared some cultural, decisions, such as to do, I think it was called a tea ceremony. I don't remember. Some type of ceremony after their wedding. And, they both had in mind to do it. And it was just like so cute because they already knew each other. And they both seemed so particular. Bao had gone through like she had literally created a list of all the guys not to, for the experts not to even bother with, and yet she still wound up with someone who she knew. And so that was super cute because they had this history, this past, and I was just so hopeful for everybody. I really was. Not everybody, obviously not everybody, but I was just so hopeful. Don't get me wrong. Please don't get the impression that I am, watching this and just I have a vested interest. I don't. Okay, this is entertainment. However, it's entertainment. So I want to be entertained, and part of that entertainment factor for me is, kind of guessing and seeing if, making predictions and see if my predictions are correct, or, and that's, I think, also part of the fun of Married at First Sight. I was about to say 90 Day Fiance. Ooh, about to tell myself all these reality shows I watch, baby. But I'm not caught up on 90 Day Fiance, so we're not doing that. And I don't have the patience really to do reviews for everything, so we're not doing that. What we're going to do is whine about this particular show. So, what I want to whine about is that going into Decision Day, I honestly felt that by the time it got to this Decision Day, I was not feeling any of the couples. I thought all of them should part ways, and I was really surprised that all of them did not part ways, and kind of saddened for one of them. But I still hope the best for them. So without further ado, let's kind of get into the couples and my what their decisions were on Decision Day, and my prediction for how things might turn out for this upcoming reunion. So I'm going to start with Rachel and Jose. This was a couple that I think flew under the radar, at least in the start of the season. But by the time they had that blow up, I was really like kind of scared for Rachel. I felt that after Jose treated her like that, locked her out of their shared domicile, um, that should have been the end. But she forgave him, and they decided at decision day to remain married and remain together. Now, let me tell you why I think that that is unfortunate, um, but also still, of course, hope for the best and hope that my opinion about the matter won't wind up being true, or you know, prediction won't come through fruition. Basically, to me, that showed when Jose did that to Rachel at kind of at the beginning of the relationship. They, barely know one another, and for him to have such a visceral reaction that led to him locking her, cursing at her, apparently, like just yelling at her while she was just sitting there, like, chilling, like, okay. And apparently she apologized for the transgression of calling him by another name. These people I've just met. And apparently the name that she had called him was Johnny, who is another cast member. But it made him blow up, and she apologized apparently during that time. And his reaction was to, curse her out and lock her out of their shared home, and then act nonchalant about it, like it wasn't a big deal. And then she basically had to like pull teeth to get an apology. And to me, I know that people make mistakes. I'm not above making mistakes myself. I know that there's no relationship that's perfect. But to me, that was abusive behavior that I don't think changes overnight. I don't think changes with one conversation or even two. Because for him to have that reaction meant that if I get angry with you, I no longer care about your well-being. That's the translation. So even if, you forgive him, blah, blah, what does Candy Burr say? Come mad day, if there's ever another disagreement, or not even disagree, if there's ever another time where, he feels that she transgresses, who knows what's going to happen? Like, he will no longer care about her well-being, will no longer, will feel like his feelings are so important as to negate her safety. And to me, that's his visceral response. To me, that's not something that goes away overnight. That's indicative of who he is as a person. And like I said, I do think people can change, but two conversations, I don't know. But I'm hoping for the best. So my prediction for them come decision day, based on the fact that she even decided to stay with him after that, I guess she's probably going to remain with him through anything. Because to me, that's beyond a red flag. That is, I don't know sports terminology, so I'm going to say a black flag. Like, that's something that to me says done deal. It's not just a red flag, like an indicator that something could be wrong down the road. No. To me, we can't do this at all. But the fact that she was able to come back from that and forgive that and decide to remain in a situation with a person who has reactions like that, and also apparently can't listen and just talks way too much and has just an overinflated sense of self, if you ask me. The fact that she decided to stay with that and give that more of a chance, because that was basically what I'm saying is there's more than one red flag going on there, and when that blow up happened, that was probably red flag number 5, like by that point. Like, so to me, if she can overlook those things, then she'll probably overlook a lot more, and I predict that they will still be together come decision day. The next couple that I'm going to give my opinion about is Brett and Ryan. Brett and Ryan, unfortunately, I started off not necessarily thinking that it was going to work out because honestly, Brett, in the very beginning, gave me the impression that she was a little thirsty. And I thought that was going to mean that she would be so gung-ho and open and willing to kind of put her trust in the process so much so that she was going to like not necessarily do her own vetting. And so I thought she was just gonna like, just be the type that would kind of allow for anything. But then once they met, I saw that there seemed to be incompatibilities. But she was still, really open, and Brett just seemed really kind of shut down because I guess he wasn't physically attracted to her or attracted to her or whatever. I don't know. And I also got the impression as time went along in the series that Brett just has an overinflated sense of self. Like, listen, I guess he's gone on many dates and hasn't figured out that maybe the problem is him. But I guess he's one of those guys who makes decent money, and so maybe he was attractive when he was younger and feels that he still is maybe like the prime 27, 28, 30-year-old self. Because I don't know, like he just seemed really like, he gave me an impression like he's one of those like dude bros who thinks that like he needs to have a model on his arm and deserves to have a model on his arm, and that is all that he will accept. But to me, it seemed really dumb that he wouldn't even be open or even make an effort in this process when he made the conscious decision to be a part of this process where he was not choosing himself. Because I guess he's already figured out that him choosing he wasn't doing a good job already, so he decided to come into this process and get married at first sight, but then wasn't really willing to make a real effort when he realized that he wasn't getting that initial supermodel and I don't know, thrill in his pants. I don't know, but it's too bad because I think it's too bad. I think if he had made more of an effort, even despite some of their seeming dissimilarities, I think sometimes people can make it work. How can I say this? I think people have the impression that they are supposed to have the same hobbies, have the same everything, be on the same page about every single thing. And I actually think sometimes if couples differ in certain ways, it's okay. But if you have like the same values, then that can be the glue that keeps you together. But I guess like they just were too far apart in terms of the effort they were willing to put in, the things that they like to do, and also just just personality. Ryan, he was kind of just a boring dude. He seemed not to have much personality to him. And to be fair, listen, I'm just whining, right? I'm whining. I don't know this man personally. This is the impression that I've gotten from the TV screen, and I am fully aware that this does not reflect the entirety of this person, this production, blah blah blah. But he just came off as about as interesting as like a cardboard box. Like I wasn't getting much. He wasn't giving me much. So they come decision day, they both decided to divorce. Good call. That thing wasn't going nowhere. Wasn't going anywhere with these two. And my prediction is that they will remain. Well, obviously they've divorced, but I don't even think that they'll remain friends, unless it's via, doing group events with other castmates and stuff like that. Because, yeah, I don't know. They just weren't given what they were supposed to have gave. So yeah, I think that, yeah, I don't think they'll, I think they'll remain the same, basically. Let's see who we have here. Okay, Zach and Michaela. Now, in the beginning of the season, Zach and Michaela, I was actually concerned about Zach because he was young. He seemed super insecure, and I didn't know if he was going to be ready for this process. So that kind of gave me pause, but I thought that once the two met one another, they seemed very excited, and they seemed, like that there was compatibility. They seemed to enjoy each other's company. They couldn't wait to jump each other's bones. So I had high hopes for them. They threw me through a whirlwind. I did not expect to see what I saw out of this couple, with Michaela having a plethora of tantrums, Zach's constant, whining and crying, and his inability to communicate clearly and effectively. And I think that, yeah, these two just weren't good for one another. They kind of created a bad cycle. I don't want to use the word toxic because I feel like that's so overused, but yeah, these two together just don't work. And then when he was talking about when they went on a trip, and he was talking about trying to see what they could be after the process, I felt like, I don't know, I kind of honestly felt like Michaela did, in that it wasn't making sense to me. I didn't, of course, I don't think I would have had to use the same reaction she did. She was just all wild and out or whatever. But I think, to me, I fully recognize that this is a process that is abnormal, and that you have cameras following you, and you have to constantly think about the impression that you're putting across camera, and to this person that you've just met, that you have entrusted experts to match you with for life. So I fully recognize that it's kind of a unique situation, that where people might not be able to bring their best selves, and so yeah, I understood that part, but I also felt like, ultimately, if that's your opinion and you feel like there could be a difference in how she behaves outside of the cameras, then why not just remain married and see? To me, I don't know, it just felt, the whole thing was, you're getting married at first sight, and part of it is having this marriage thing that is supposed to deter you from just cutting and running in ways that you might otherwise do for relationships that don't have such a lasting, don't have paperwork behind it. The idea is that you're going to be more willing to put forth more effort because you've committed to some degree, right? And so anyway, so come decision day, Zach gives this whole soliloquy. He's praising Michaela and just making it. Oh, and I think he also said that he loved her. And it's just just kind of building her up. And then she decides she wants to continue to try to work through their issues. And he decides that he doesn't, and to get divorced. Now, to me, that was kind of manipulative. And I felt like, whatever, listen, these two shouldn't be together anyway, honestly. Like, they shouldn't be together anyway. So I guess they both decided that even though that happened, they would make an effort to try to date after this process. To me, it doesn't make sense to even bother because I felt like the reactions that they were drawing out of one another were indicative of how they are likely to continue to react toward one another when a button is pressed. I don't think that they have the ability to problem solve together. Yeah, I don't think that Zach and Michaela have the ability to have disagreements that don't result in some sort of chaos. Just have mature disagreements, basically, and work through them maturely. At least not with one another. And so my prediction is that now I will say that there is, I don't know if I should say what the word on the street is. Okay, if you don't want to know what the word on the street is, fast forward by 10 seconds, okay? Word on the street is he and Zach and Bao are a thing now and are dating. Word on the street. We'll find out decision day, I guess. I mean, not decision day. We'll find out come the next episode of the reunion. We'll find out come this reunion. Hopefully. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe it happened after the reunion. I don't know. Anyhow, yeah, I predict that Zach and Michaela will not be a thing at all come decision day and will have decided to part ways as a couple, as a unit. Whether or not they decide to remain friends, don't know, but I predict that from them being married and then, divorcing, one, Michaela wanting to remain married, Zach not wanting to remain married but wanting to continue to date. I think that mismatch is going to just kind of continue to reflect in their attempts to date outside of this process. And so I just don't think they're going to be a thing by time reunion comes along. And I would not be surprised if they have beef by then, because they just don't seem to be able to keep it cool for too long. Explosive couple. Next couple I will talk about Gil and Mirla. So starting out this season, I was not thrilled with Mirla. I thought Mirla was going to be a nightmare. I thought this woman, she's just dry. If anything, she and Brett should have been a thing. In the beginning, I wasn't seeing it for Mirla. She seemed like she was, the impression I had gotten from in the beginning was that she was not necessarily bougie. It's okay to have nice things and want nice things, but that in combination with her seeming to have this kind of off, hand, arm's length kind of attitude toward people, snobby. That's the word I was looking for. She was giving the impression of being snobby. And so yeah, I didn't think I would warm up to her, but definitely warmed up to her by the end of the season. And I appreciated that she seemed like she was had some type of self-awareness, was willing to take constructive criticism and not just hear it, but work towards implementing it and being mindful of it. And I really appreciated that maturity from her. And you kind of got to see her and Gil grow closer and just kind of become that couple that might really make it in this thing. And that was kind of surprising. Then there was a hiccup toward the end where it kind of seemed that there was a recurring um, complaint of Gil's that she was negative, and also to me it was a big red flag on Gil's part, where he seemed to be trying to undercut her, and I didn't like that, and I was really disappointed to see that from him, because he seemed like one of the only guys who was like really like mature in this process, and yeah, but so I also felt that the whole finances thing was a kind of what's the term, like a stick in his craw or something like that. Like it was something that like I could tell seemed to strike at an insecurity of his. At least that's the impression I got. And so I felt like sometimes he kind of took that out on Mirla. And I honestly so by decision day, they both decided to stay together. And to be honest with you, I don't think they should. I don't think they should have. Finance is I think the number one or amongst the top reasons why people decide to divorce. And if they have, I always talk about couples having shared, if you don't share anything else, you don't share hobbies or anything else, having shared values is, I think, incredibly important. And if they don't have the same shared values when it comes to, or even similar when it comes to finances, and on top of that, it's even like if you don't share the values, if there's one person who feels strongly about something and another one feels just as strongly about the same thing but in the opposite direction, I feel like that's going to be a problem. If you have one person who might, it's like, oh, I feel strongly about this, but the other person is just like, it's not that big of a deal to me, I don't care as much, then okay, you might be able to work, with that. But I just don't see, I just see the financial aspect of things being a huge wedge between them. She has done very well for herself, and she strikes me as the type that would not necessarily throw him not having the same, level of finances in his face. But with him, he seemed to always bring up how he doesn't care about the things she cares about, and how, he kind of made it seem like, oh, she's, this, princess or whatever. And, I don't need all that, and I don't blah, blah. Cool, you don't need it, but if she wants it, you shouldn't leave her be. She can afford it, and I just felt that if his value is so radically different, and so much so that he feels the need to downplay hers and undercut hers, I don't see it working out in the long run. Since by the time they do the reunion, I don't think it would have been a whole lot of time between them, between decision day and the reunion. I think there's a chance that they might still be together trying to work through that come the reunion time. But I honestly don't think they'll work in the long run. But best of luck to them. That's my opinion. But, that's not something I wish upon them. I do hope that they can work things out and come to, agreement on such a big foundational issue. So last but certainly not least, we have Johnny and Bao. Baby. Johnny and Bao. Whew. If they didn't work every single nerve, jump and backflip on every last nerve of mine throughout this season. Like, in the beginning, I thought Bao was going to be an issue. She seemed completely delusional and unrealistic about her standards. As the show, as the season went along, we saw that she definitely, since she already knew Johnny and had this kind of foundational knowledge about him, she was very like open to this process, and she gave it her all. You can tell she's a fighter. She was willing. She made an effort. Like, you're supposed to do in this process. What the heck are you trying to get married at first sight for if you're not willing to make an effort? What are you doing? What are you folks doing? Ugh. Anyhow, yeah, I was really disappointed by Val and Johnny's relationship, because I was just so hopeful in the beginning for them. As I, reasoned before, they just seemed like they could really be a great couple, perfect couple, similar shared values, similar cultural understanding, and they both seem very particular, so I figured they would be able to understand and respect the other person's particularness. But honestly, and I might have to do a separate video. Because Johnny, I remember watching the screen like, he might be worse than Chris from last season. Worse than Chris? So yeah, I might have to determine, do some talking and do some compare and contrast, or talk myself through whether or not he was truly worse than Chris, who complete dud. Anyhow, so with Val and Johnny, what we were seeing throughout the season was, in the beginning, they both seemed to really get along, be excited about their union, and then all of a sudden, Johnny seems to start nitpicking at everything about this woman, and surprisingly, Val seemed to kind of go into herself a little bit, and she came off as a very confident, woman, independent woman, and to kind of see her kind of just like shrivel a little bit, like made me kind of sad. But she really gave her an effort, and I was really disappointed in how Johnny was behaving. He was mean. He was purposely malicious. He was disrespectful. And ew. Just ew. And he was also incredibly manipulative. I mean, listen, like, anytime she tried to have a conversation with him, he would huff and walk away, and just display these very immature behaviors that just have no place in a relationship. And he made comments like, "Oh, I would have rather been married to anyone but you," and like, he made such a big deal about wanting affection, and then gets it, and then starts to like, "Oh, you're like a child, and I don't really," basically doesn't find her attractive, and it's just, the gaslight. It was nasty. He's a nasty little man. And I was really disappointed by that, because I thought he was this fun guy. Yeah, everyone's got their, can be particular about some things, but I didn't know that he was that type of person. He was just looking for any out, it seemed. And he had made a comment in the beginning of the season that was a yellow flag for me. He said something to the fact that he wants a woman that is clingy. And I think when he said that, I remember thinking like, "Oh, that's a sign of insecurity." That's a sign of insecurity, because that means that you don't ever want to be in a position where you question how into you she is. And he, said something like, so clean that she's like almost psycho or something, or crazy or something like that. And I was just like, yeah, that's a yellow flag. Because to me that might indicate that he has a lot of insecurities. Well, boom. I think what triggered him is that Bao is not clingy. She is independent. She is an intelligent woman. But the crazy part about it is that despite her not being clingy, she still made it very clear that she was in this thing. So, if he had doubts about how into him she was, I don't know how or why, because anytime he had a complaint, she seemed to make an effort to address his complaint or whatever problems they might be having. And so, yeah, I was really disappointed with his behavior. And then come decision day, this man had a nerve, an absolute nerve, after all the gaslighting, manipulation, disrespect, to huff and puff, inhale really deeply, like, oh, I don't know if I can do it, and say that he wanted to remain married. Sir, are you serious? All this time that you had an opportunity to make an effort in your marriage, you chose not to. And then come decision day, you want to say yes. And to me, it just came off as saying yes because you don't want to look like a bad guy. Because everything in your behavior said no. So for you to say yes was like, oh, I just, I want you to be the one to say no. I want to come off as like, no, hey, I said yes, I tried, so hey. I don't know. It was not given what it was supposed to give. But you know what was given what it was supposed to give? Bow coming in that red dress. Yes, honey, with the red lip. Yes, honey, looking fly. Sitting down, demure, speaking very softly, and saying her piece. And baby, when she came out with that, I do not know. She walked out. That shame. And I think Johnny was honestly, when I think about it, I say that he maybe wanted her to be the bad guy and say no, but I don't know if he thought she was going to say no. Because I think that given the time that they had spent together and all the shit that he threw her way and her still making an effort, I think a part of him thought that she actually might stay and hoped that she actually would stay to take more of his fish because, he wants a clean woman. So I guess in his mind, if you are really clingy, you will cling no matter what is thrown at you. I don't know. I'm not a psychologist, but I think part of him said yes despite not wanting to remain with her because he thought she would say yes. And he didn't want to come off as looking like the person who never tried. I don't know how true that is, but whatever. So I think come reunion, yes, they will still not be a thing. And I honestly, I don't know if they'll even be friends after this because the whole the debacle with her best friend when he was having a discussion with her best friend behind her back about their marriage. Ooh, it's just nasty, just slimy. Yeah, I don't know if that's something that you can just get over. I don't know. So I guess we'll see. But I also want to know if I honestly want to know how Bao's relationship with her best friend currently is too. Bring that heifer onto the stage, okay? I want to know what's going on there because that's being betrayed by your best friend and your husband and the betrayal is in kind of talking poorly about her to one another, like that's the betrayal. It's like, come on, like he made an effort to reach out to her best friend to speak ill about her and their marriage to the best friend about I just think that was gross. So I'm curious to see where Val stands with her best friend. Never mind Johnny. I'm pretty sure I hope she deleted that man's number out her phone. But that is my prediction about what we'll see on reunion day, on the reunion episode. And also, and also, just kind of my general commentary about the season as a whole. Ebby and I wanted to do a review of this show, but honestly, we just didn't have minutes. I mean, these episodes will be like an hour long, and it's just too much. Sometimes 2 hours and stuff in the beginning episodes when they're getting married and they're going through that process. I was like, no, this is just, I don't care that much. And I don't want this much of my life going to this, because let's be clear, I didn't watch all of it, okay? I didn't. Okay? That's just what it is. So, thank you for joining me. Thank you for listening to me whine. And if you've got anything to whine about, feel free to join in on the comments below. Until the reunion. Ciao.